have it, for example, we have one of this, each of these programs, for example, 25 programs, so you can say 5% take,
Should we start?
Yep. And I'm casting the wrong stuff as usual. That's it.
What is the second thing? Chrome has it.
But I'm hooked up now. Oh, you just
I'm just
power.
trying to. Okay, I'll try to go on the battery.
I guess. Otherwise, no, we can't ask Christopher because he's not here, but there are some extra extension cords somewhere.
Okay, people, are you ready? How was the homework? Did you have fun?
Yeah, very fun.
That's good.
extremely fun.
Awesome. So,
For a whole week.
so you had to spend a week doing it, or?
That was the plan to make you sit with this for more than 15 minutes. So I hope I managed to actually.
We wanted to get off 1 week, from work, so we can focus on our work.
So how many of you were able to do this in 5 hours?
5 hours.
Which one?
Or less? Yeah, the homework?
Again? No?
How much? I'm asking how much time you spent. Like, was it 5 hours or less? Hands up. No. 10 hours? 10 hours? Okay. Yeah. Any more?
On Sunday evening, when I went home,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes 2-3 hours, except the footer I made.
Yeah. Okay.
But when on the Tuesday morning I see some changes.
Oh, so you did it before we updated?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
And because it should be responsive, then I made a lot of media queries for all from top to bottom.
Okay. All right. Cool. So 15 hours?
More than.
Yeah. 20?
Like 30 hours maybe for me.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. So altogether, the homework is supposed to be around 30 hours, including like the reading and any other exercises that we might give you. So maybe we were not completely off in that case.
Yeah.
But
sorry.
But we can't really give you so much feedback on the website you build right now. Because we still have the hand-in date on Sunday, so you have the weekend to do it. We discussed that last time. But I'm planning to be around next time for the first JavaScript class and just make sure that we have like a smooth transition, and make sure that anyone who hasn't gotten feedback yet, I'll make sure you get your feedback then. How about like the readings from for this week? Anything that you stumbled across that was weird and hard to understand, or was it just a walk in the park? Yeah.
Just one thing, for example, HTML, CSS that we can do on our normal browser.
Yeah.
Having some kind of servers. But if we try to do the font task, then we need to put our application in a server, like a web server.
Yeah, if you have to do forms, you basically need to have a server backend. Yeah,
So
but
we don't have that.
yeah, that's true.
understanding right now.
Yeah, we're doing some exercises on forms today, and I was kind of hoping that we could manage to set up a really quick little backend server or something where we could just see that your form has successfully sent to the server, but we didn't really manage to get the time to do that. But you'll see forms again and again and again in the future, so it won't be too much of a problem. You can, it's not a big problem to create forms on the front end if you just like know how the backend is going to respond. So if you know where you're going to send the form and what you have to do and things like that. But you're absolutely right. Forms doesn't make a lot of sense without a backend, and that's some of the stuff that I wanted to cover for the beginning of this class as well. So that's a good question.
One note about the homework and the way we work with the homework. I would highly encourage you, because like week 1, all the homework without the validator errors is what's it called, reviewed. So you should get notifications on your email about that a long time ago. And there are some like 3 missing that like I've seen you guys fix that the validator warning. So I'm gonna go through this. But the point is that for a majority of you, we opened like an issue on GitHub per problem. And I would recommend, like, if you'll be reviewing those things on your GitHub, like, either you fix it and close the issue or do something about it so you don't, like, let open issues hang in your repo. Maybe not, it's not, like, super critical right now, but in the future, once you're gonna get more, then you'll end up with, like, 100 open things and you'll be like, okay, what's next? So, and that's the thing is that, like, on GitHub, you can actually, like, close things. And this is also a workflow that you possibly be doing at your work, you know, in the future, where somebody opens a ticket, you need to fix something. Once you're done, you close it. So I think this is also a good thing to be, you know, organized just for yourself to start with. And, you know, if you, and also like initially I just like gave like bullet point lists with the review, but then we figured it's better to actually annotate single lines of code. So you should be able to actually fix those particular things and then, you know, close it. So
yeah,
worth keeping in mind. And also for when you're cross-checking your own stuff with your, you know, study partners, that's also, I think, good behavior to have, because we can also then see if you actually fixed what you have or what you've been reported by, you know, your study partner.
Another suggestion is, I think I would recommend that you create a new GitHub repository for each homework session. Of course not if it's like the homework in the first session and then the second session you're building on top of that. But if it's like separate stuff, it's probably better to create separate repositories, because then you will have all the issues in that place and not somewhere else. I guess someone connected to a Chromecast. Okay.
So instead of creating folders, you should create...
Yeah, I think it's better to create separate repositories, and then you also get in the habit and the practice of creating a new repository. So it's not like you use the same repository for the entire duration of the course, and then once you have to do the final project, it's like, oh, how do you do a GitHub repository or something like that? That should really be like muscle memory. So
This,
I love that.
Yeah. And one more thing, like most of you call your page that you're working on index.html, but I've seen some of you have weird name conventions, so it's always index.html, lowercase, right?
Yeah.
For the style sheets, I've seen many different names, and I don't think there is one way, like, you know, for index.html, it's always friggin' index.html. For CSS, you might have a different opinion, but like I usually call my styles default.css because, like, contrary to, for example, print CSS, that makes logical sense for me. I don't know, like, what do you work with normally at work? What kind of names? Is it styles CSS or default or digital or screen?
It depends. I think usually the first style sheet that I hit is style CSS, but then I usually import them into that one. So it starts to get really complicated really quickly.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I just want to spend 1 minute telling what was actually in the homework. So just in case someone didn't read it, or in case someone did read it and didn't really realize what they were reading. So just like real quickly, the first one here was just like a very basic tutorial on how to do basic HTML forms. Then this one was a overview of all the form widgets that you can do, and I think this one is a pretty good candidate for your browser bookmarks, right? So you can find this one quickly, because here you'll see like there's how to build a search field, there's how to build a phone number field, how to build a URL field, a text area, and everything is explained here, how you do the different types of elements you might use in a form. And then finally there's this one about form validation, and given that most of you have read this, I'm like will anyone tell me why is form validation relevant and why is it important and why should we do it? What?
To avoid
Okay.
Spamming and
Mm-hmm.
different attacks like SQL injection, other things.
Right. Yeah. So how can we avoid spam by validating our forms?
Server-side validation and
Mm-hmm.
front-end side validation using HTML5.
Yeah, so that's actually a topic we haven't covered on yet. But there's one thing that's worth noticing here, and that's actually the part that we have left out of the homework. Because this is based on the built-in validation features in the browser. So it's only doing it in the browser, and we're doing it without using any JavaScript, because we're not going to teach you JavaScript until next time. Yeah?
It gives something, write something code inside the HTML to tell the browser what should user allowed to type and not to type, something like this. If you write something only the lowercase, then if the user put any uppercase, then it's pop up a message like you should enter the lowercase.
Yeah, okay.
Like this.
So it's helping the user then.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's a really good point. So we have like two sides of this. It's helping the owner of the website make sure that the website doesn't get like exploited by bots or something like that, like spam bots, or maybe some bots that are looking for vulnerabilities where maybe someone could hack your website. So that's one perspective, and the other perspective is that it's actually helping the users, because maybe when you're a user and you're using a website and the form validation is really aggressive, it's like you have to type a password, but it has to start with a lowercase, and then you have to use some special characters, and it has to be between 8 and 16 characters long or something like that. Then maybe you get really annoyed, right? But there's probably a reason why they had to make those design decisions. Usually when it's passwords like that, that's maybe not, well, you can have an opinion on that at least. But my point is that, say for instance that the field is your address field, and you're going to type something like your street name, but you're not going to type the number because you simply forgot about that. And imagine there was no form validation. So it's like you can put in your order and it says everything is okay, and there's like nothing telling you that you actually made a mistake. And what will happen? Well, maybe the company will try to ship out a package to you, and it will get stuck in the mail and you'll never get the package, and maybe you'll be charged for the package even though you never will get it. So that way form validation is helping you. So it's both one reason is for the users, and another reason is to protect your website. And about protecting the website, you're right, you mentioned client-side and server-side validation. So what we're doing here is really like a quick fix. It's not doing server-side validation, and that's something you need to always do because of security concerns. Because when you validate your forms the way we're doing it here, it's very, very easy for a hacker to still send in some malicious code to one of your forms or something like that. So it's not really protecting you at all. The only thing it's doing here is that it's helping the user in not putting in some data that cannot be used by our website. So it's more of a usability, user experience thing when we look at client-side validation. And you've probably seen a lot of websites where they only have server-side validation, where they don't have any client-side validation. So the idea there is that you can fill out the entire form, and you're like, yeah, I'm really good, and then you press submit, and then a message comes up and tells you, yeah, but you didn't fill out that field right, and it didn't fill out that field right, and if you're really unlucky, that website like cleared out your form, and you have to type everything again and try again, and then you press submit, and then it tells you that like now this field is wrong and things like that. That's like really bad usability, right? But they are doing the validation on the server, so they're kind of like protecting themselves, but they're not doing a lot to help you. So that's where client-side validation comes into the picture. So the first thing I wanted to tell you, I was actually going through the homework. So let's just see the other things that we were talking about. So that was a little bit about form validation. That was like the core content. That's the stuff that we're going to be talking about in the class today. Then there were some additional readings down here. There was like some readings on media queries. We used it already last time, but I wanted to make sure that you also had some had a good place to look for some more knowledge about that when you're doing the homework. I'll skip the second one for now. Then there is this section where it's just explaining a little more in depth about HTML. Oh, now someone is connecting to it again. Or maybe not. Maybe I just lost connection.
No, I think somebody was connecting.
And discovered the moment that they pressed connect. I think we need to rename the Chromecast so it's like class 1 and class 2 and stuff like that. Anyhow, so this page is just like explaining a little more depth the syntax of HTML, and I think that's a very good article to cover. Why was that actually part of? Oh yeah, and this one is like if you have multiple classes and IDs, how that's going to affect the hierarchy of your styling, and why that might be a bad thing. How you can get in trouble with that. And Richard, you saw that I gave you some feedback on your homework, right? Did you look about, like I gave some recommendations about BEM? Did you have time to look at that?
Yeah, but no, I haven't read the whole of it.
No, okay. It's just because I could see he did very well with the homework, and I wanted to give him like some outlook in terms of other places that you can search for knowledge. So if any of you feel like I really want to go deep into CSS, there's the topic of the BEM, which is a really good thing to learn, and that will help you get out of the problems that are described in this article. And then finally, this one I actually saved for last because this is one of my favorite articles in the entire world. So, how many of you read this article in detail? Right?
Just poorly, just
Okay. Now I already revealed that this is one of my favorite articles. I'll tell you why. It's just, even with, I don't know how many years I have of experience doing CSS, but like even with the experience that I have, I'm like, I constantly forget like some selectors and things like that, and I have to look up some small details. And this page is just like my go-to place because it explains how to style anything. Please forget this one. That one's styling IDs, and some of you will know based on the feedback I gave in the homework that I hate when people style IDs. But this one, for example, do you all remember the difference between